Alright everybody, welcome back to another installment of the Dora. I believe we're up to part 12. Wow, I need a haircut. Yeah, I've always had long hair, but this is getting ridiculous. Wife keeps getting on me. You know, you want long hair when you get to my age, kind of hides them thinning spots. Alright, so where are we at? I pretty much got the bridges complete in this video. I'm working on the catwalks, so that'll be in next week's video. I probably will have this whole thing, both of these bridges, completed by next week. They've gone together really easy, really fast and simple. I thought I was going to have little problems with this taking so long because there is a lot of parts, but you know. And that's the thing, there's so many parts involved with this model. I've still got sprues on the other side of the room like crazy. And the hardest part is just cleaning them up, cleaning up all them parts. You'll see in here where I got 220 parts of one type that I have to clean up and put on here, and they're so small. That takes as much time just cleaning up the parts as it does to build the model. And a lot of times, you know, I say I'm down here for a week. I'm not. It's summertime. We got a friend who works for someplace special, and he gets plants, brings them home. My wife has brought home 2 carloads of plants, and we have been digging holes, planting things all around the house. And so, you know, that takes time. So I'm down here maybe 4 days out of the week where I can come down here for a few hours a day. And here's another thing, you know, it takes time to shoot this video, upload it, get it all done. But I'm not complaining. You know, I like doing this. It's fun. But so when I say, you know, a week, it's only about 4 days if I'm lucky. All right, so getting back to this model, I got something I got to talk about here. I'm into where I'm putting these catwalks on, and I'm into the photo-etch. I'm doing some photo-etch work. And let me get this here and this here. Now, you'll see in the video where I talk about this Formula 560. I used it, I think, in the other video where I was putting that photo-etch on them railroad cars. I swear by this stuff, okay? And I've got something else that a couple guys have recommended, and I'll talk about that in a video. But this is my go-to for my photo-etch. This is what I use. All right? Now, it's not to say I don't have some super glue. And I know this comes in different viscosities. This one's a thick. There's a thin and a medium. And the thick and the medium give you a little bit of working time with your photo etch, you know. But I don't like this stuff. If anybody's ever watched any of my videos, I do not use this any more than I have to. This is only in an emergency. And it's just, you know, you're sitting here, and if you're doing a lot of photo etch work and you're bent over your model, you're going to screw up your eyes or your lungs. The best thing I can recommend if you're going to use this is to set you up a little fan on your table and blow them fumes away from you, okay? Now, if anybody watches Solomon, his channel, go to his channel. It's Life After Work, okay? He is building the USS New Jersey, and he's got the photo etch set. He's probably got more parts in that photo etch than he does of the model. And he has got some very small, tiny pieces of photo etch that all have to be bended and folded and then glued to another piece of photo etch to make a larger structure or something. Now that is where I would use this super glue at. That's when I would use that. Okay, if I got to glue 2 pieces of photo etch together. But you got to be careful, you know. You don't want to over flood your part because now you got this all over it, and it's hard to clean up. I know fingernail polish remover is supposed to clean it up, but I didn't have much luck with that. This here, a little Q-tip with a damp, just get it damp, cleans this right up. And you got pretty much 3 to 4, maybe 5 minutes of working time. And you come back with that Q-tip and just clean up any excess, no problem. And this holds real good, especially for what I'm doing, okay? The photo etch to the plastic. Even on, horizontal or vertical surfaces, this will work great for you. All that railing I did on my Arizona build, that's what I used, okay? So, yeah, be careful with this stuff. Solomon, I feel for you, buddy. Watch his last video. I think it was his last one where he was showing all that photo etch he's got. Whew. I thought I got problems with all these little parts. Okay, that's my little thing about super glue and Formula 560. And you'll see, like I said, I got some other stuff that's specially formulated for photo etch, but I didn't care for it. I'll explain that later. I got a question from a fellow on or a comment on my last video, and it was a very good comment. I never thought about it, so I'll explain that. It's pretty much close to the end of the video. You'll see it. I'm answering his question. It was a very good question. So you're going to have to watch the video if you want to see it. And also, I've got a question for everybody out there that watches this video. I've seen this from the very beginning. I've seen it in pictures. I've seen it in the directions. And now that I'm to that point, I'm going to ask the question. I've been waiting all this time to ask this question. I got some parts that going on here, and as I'm building this thing, I'm studying it, figuring out its workings and everything, and why they did this and that. I have racked my brain. I have lost sleep over this, trying to figure out what these things do. And you're going to have to watch the video to see what I'm talking about. But yeah, if anybody's got a good idea, or maybe even knows what they possibly could be for, I would really like to know. Take your best guess, because I tried thinking of everything. All right, and also, I once said that a good video is about maybe 35 minutes long. Well, once again, I'm pushing an hour here, and a lot of it is, 10, probably in this particular video, 15 minutes of me sitting here chit-chat. But I like doing this because there's a lot of guys out there I watch on YouTube that the beginning of the video start out with a little chit-chat session and explain what's going on and what's going to happen. And that's why I do that. And I've had comments from guys, enough talk, get on with the model. Excuse me, you got a fast forward button. If you don't like to listen to this little chit chat, skip ahead. I just can't comprehend some of these people. So yeah, this is going to be a long video. I'm sorry about that if some people don't want it. But you can cut it. You don't have to watch the whole thing at one time. I've said that before. But I try to stick with a subject and get it all in one video instead of splitting this up into 2 or 3 more, So I try to get to a subject and stick with it and get as much accomplished and show you at one time. So, and like I said, I about got these bridges done, and I've done them in 1 week. So there's no use in splitting this up into another week. All right, I know I'm babbling on, and I'm probably ticking guys off, and I'm probably losing subscribers. But that's the way it is. Push that fast forward button. All right, so I think that's about it. I think I got everything I said that I need to say. Yep, that's it. And here's another thing. I'm going to say, let's turn the camera around and look. This has already all been filmed. That's already all uploaded onto my computer. So this is the last thing I do before I post it to YouTube, is film this section. So kind of bass backwards when you think about it. All right, so let's get the camera turned around and look at what I'm doing. All right, here we go. Another chapter being started in the Dora gun. So I'm going to get started on these larger rail cars. This, from looking at the directions, looks like this ought to go a lot quicker and faster than what them cars did. There is a lot of parts to go on here, especially all these little valve handles. I think there's 35 to each side, so there's quite a few of those. But I think this ought to go together pretty fast. A couple things I noticed while dry fitting this. All right, I was looking at the inside of this, and most of all these holes that are on the outside here, all these holes down here where parts go, they're drilled completely through the plastic. All right, you can hold it up to the light and see them. There they are there. But I got to look in, and there's a series of holes that start right here, come down, go up, go all along the top, and back down on the other side here. But they don't go all the way through. And I was wondering, well, what are those for? And I did a real good search on the directions, and there's nothing that goes on the inside. There's no pin locations for those. So I don't know what those holes are for, because they do not go all the way through. They're just on the back side here. So, you know, that stumped me for a little bit. All right, but anyway, these they go together pretty good. And the only way you got to glue this together is it sits on these little ledges here of all these little pieces sticking up. Now there's none on the bottom, but it does line up real good once it's sitting on all these little spots. And but I noticed it fits real good. It goes together nice and neat. Okay. You get them pushed down onto them little ledges, and then the bottom lines up pretty good, even though there's no support there. But I've got one hell of a seam line all the way down this thing. Okay, and some of it right here too. So I thought, now do I leave that go? Because it's probably two different plates of steel that come together. But then again, there would be a weld seam there. That would be welded up to look like one. Sure, it would probably be noticeable because of the weld, but I don't think I can leave that seam there. I'm going to have to fill this all in. Now I had two ways of me thinking about doing this. I was going to cut some small strips of styrene, okay, which would be probably the easiest way, and lay it right over that seam, like sort of like that, okay, all the way down. But then I got to thinking, there's other parts that get glued on here, like I don't know, probably some of the I'm not sure, I have to look, but there's part of the railing or something might get fastened up here. I don't know. I'm afraid that if I do this and then there's something else that gets glued up onto this area, now it's going to be sticking out too much. But that'd be the quickest and easiest way to take care of this seam. Okay? But I think what I'm going to do is just go ahead and go with the putty and fill that seam line in all the way down. Alright, and just like with the railroad cars, I started collecting all the parts that go with it. Alright, started getting all these little pieces out, sanding them down, cleaning them up, so when it comes time, you just pick a part and boom, go with it, go with it. You don't have to take the time like I did before. Oh, well, I need this part. Now I got to go cut it off the sprue, clean it up, put it on there. It seems to be much easier and faster. You just have to be able to keep track of your parts, you know. You have to watch them because there are some that are similar but go on different areas. Okay. And I think most of this is like the catwalk. I'm not sure what side it goes on, but there's Photo-etch goes in here for the a catwalk. And you can see I started filling up my little tray again with parts. Alright. But all these parts have to be cleaned up. I got all these little, you know, where they're attached to the sprue all have to come off of there yet. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through and get a lot of it. Now I did notice there's a lot of little things that go in some of these spots that are two little pieces, two little squares that get glued together and then they get glued on. So I'm really going to have to pay attention to what I'm doing there, make sure I get them correct. And once again, the directions. Okay, let's see here. All right, now they are marked. There's a marking in here. This is FL. And this says FF, and I think they both say FF. The only difference is, look at that, how tight a fit that is. I can't even get that apart. And it's just sitting in there. That's because I'm pulling on the wrong side, dummy. Dummy. This is FR, and this is FF. So these two pieces here, I don't think make any difference. So, but there is a left and a right. So they show you starting out with the left. Okay. Now, once again, the directions. In this photo here, they show the front of the gun. Let me see. This is the left. That'd be this one here. Let me get this back together. This is why the directions are so screwy. This is the front. I can tell this is the front because there's a piece goes up here. Alright? But they show you starting out with it like that. Okay? In this direction here. You come to the next set of directions. There it is again. You're putting on that piece up front here. But then in this one, they're turning you around. Now you got to turn the thing around and work on it. Okay? So you really have to pay close attention. And then here we go over here to another page, and they got it like this here. But then in the next picture here, it's upside down. Okay? Now, which is front and which is rear, it's hard to tell once you got it upside down. But I don't know why they got to be so screwy with this. In the same way here, they got it up, right side up, but backwards, because there's the front again turned on to the other side. And then you go to the other one, the right side, and do the same thing. But it's really screwy in the directions. You really have to pay attention to the way they're orienting this so that you get the right part in the right place. Like I said, 1 minute it's like this, next minute it's like this, next minute it's like this. So, got to pay attention to that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and I believe I'm going to get started on assembling this. And what I'm going to do here, let me get one out, is all these little areas where this part rests on, it's pretty thin. It's only about 1 millimeter wide. And there's quite a few of them. They start all the way up here in the front, go all the way to the back, and then down on each bottom here. And I don't think this is going to work for me. Number one, it's such a thin area. Like I said, it's only about 1 millimeter wide. And there's so many of them that if you put some of this on there, it's just going to run off and run down. And by the time I get ready to put the thing on, it'll probably be dried up. So I'm going to go to the old tried and true tube of Testor's glue. I got two ways to do it, and I think I'll do it this second way, but I could take this here and put a little dab of that on each one of them. But then again, since it's such a small area, it's probably just going to run down. So I think what I'll do is just run me a seam line with this glue. Just run a line all the way down and along the bottom here, down to this point. Because remember, there's no support down here and on this side here. And then just hurry up and slap it on there. Okay? Hurry up and get it on there, get it pressed down, put a couple clamps on it, and let it set up. And then I can come along with this thin Tamiya and put a little bit down in here. I don't think it's going to do much good because there is a gap there. You can see it. You can see that gap. It's all along there. And this isn't going to be any fun puttying this. There's such a big area. So, but I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and use this glue and get this set up. And once they get set up and I can get them puttied, then like I said, it's just a matter of throwing these little things on here. These are all cleaned up, ready to go. They just set in there like that. Boom. There's 6 to a side, I believe. And they go on both sides. So while that putty is setting up, and then I'll be cleaning up some more parts, assembling a couple little pieces that go together before they go on, and things like that. Alright, so that's where we're at. I'll be back after I get this together and get some putty on it. Let's see what she looks like. Okay, here we are back another day. I went ahead and put these two halves together here on these bridges, and I puttied them. Once again, I used my Tamiya white putty and went all across that edge. And you're saying, well, why is it black? Well, it's black because after I went through and sanded it all down, I primered that edge so I can see what I got. So I can see if there's any mistakes or anything, or it needs to be touched up. But it's looking real good. What little bit of a seam line I can see is just because the primers reacting different to the putty. But that's okay because I'm going to sand this down again. Just give it a light sanding, and then when I go and primer and paint, it ought to be invisible. And you're probably wondering, well, why was I worried about that seam, that gap that was in there once I put these together? Well, if you look at the other side, there is no gap. Okay, it's one solid piece. So that's why I went through the effort to, I got putty. See, once again, you transfer that putty around the different spots. But that's why I went to the extra effort of filling in that gap that was all the way around the edge. Alright. And I'm in the process of cleaning up all the little parts, getting all my parts like I did before, getting all the parts that go with this, getting them all together, cleaning them all up, so when it comes time, I'll just be slapping parts on there right and left, you know, won't take no time at all. The problem is, problems again, is these little hand wheels, these little valve knobs or whatever you want to call them, the little valve that go across here and all the way across here. I count that there should be close to 220 of these little things, And you can see them, I got them here. Here's a pile of them here. Here's some here. I showed it there's, according to the directions, 220 of them. It looks like they gave me 224, which is good because, you know, if I lose one of these, I have a spare. You can see I got a rag laying down here. So when I was cutting these off of the sprue, all through here, they would just drop and hit this rag. And I didn't have to worry about them hitting a hard surface and taking off. So when they hit the rag, they pretty much stay where they're at. So that's why I got that laid down like that. So now I got to go through every one of these, every one, and cut off. I don't know if it's going to show up in my hand. Where's my piece of black paper? Cut off all that little spots where they came off of the sprue at. You see that little piece right there where I cut it off the sprue? I got to go through 224 of these. And what I'll do to clean them up is I'll take my knife and I'll lay them on this cutting mat, and I'll take my knife and surgically remove that. So, like I said, I'm in the process of getting all these parts. Here we go, filling this little thing up again with a bunch of parts. I've only got a few more to go. Once I clean these up, there's only a few more that I need to dig out of all my sprues. And like I said, then it'd just be a matter of boom, putting them on. I will be involved with some more photo etch on this. All this stuff right here. Get it here without breaking it. All this stuff right here. Alright, let me get the one that goes on the outside. Photo etch goes inside of all this. Okay, this is a catwalk. And I believe this goes something like this. Somewhere around here, I think it is. Goes on there like that. And then there's a railing here that goes on the outside of it. I don't know which one it is. I think it might be this one. So I got to get some more photo etch cut off and get all this. And then there's some other railings, once again, where they don't show you in the completion of this. It's like 10 steps beyond, where now you're going to find some small railings go right here. There ain't that much goes on this as far as railing up on the top. But I'm going to go ahead and get all that done like I did on them cars. I'm going to jump ahead and get these complete. So I don't have to come back later and find something that, oh man, now I got to paint that and try to get it on there. Alright, so I'm going to be here for a better part of the day, just cleaning up all these little pieces, getting the rest of what I need, and then probably, if I feel up to it later tonight, I'll be down here and start putting some of this together. But it'll probably be the next day. I'm filming this now, but it won't come out till next week. This will be, I think, part 11 or 12. No, I think this is going to be 12. So this weekend, Sunday is Father's Day, so, but you won't see this probably until next week. So that's why I don't know how much I'll be able to work on it this weekend. Alright, so there we are. That's where we're at right now. Alright, see you later. Okay, so here we are. This is about 3 or 4 days later. Most all the parts are on. All them little pieces I had, everything is on there. And like I said, these went together real easy. You know, the hardest part was just sanding everything down and cleaning up all them little valve handles. That was the hardest part. Once you got that done, then it's just a matter of slapping on all these little parts. And let me find my little finger. Oh no. Oh, everything's coming to an end until I find my arrow, my little pointer. What happened to it? Whoa, that was close. Thought I lost it. But this is the inside, you can tell from the putty. And I re-sanded it, so I got it real nice and smooth. But you can see these little parts here, all these little valves, and these things, and then a bunch of little pieces in here. Everything just fell together real nice, you know. Got the pieces on the top and the front. Here's a question I got for all you guys. If anybody can figure this out. Alright, there was 220 of these little hand valves, them little valves that I was showing you. There's 35, I think, on this side, and this is the inside, and then on the outside there's 75 of them. Okay, now I have racked my brain trying to figure this out, and if anybody knows, got a good idea what they are, what are they for? Why do they need 75 valves on the outside, 35 on the inside? What in the world are they controlling with them hand valves? Now, you think two things with a valve, either hydraulics or steam, which there's no steam with this, so what could those possibly be controlling? You know, is there pressure builds up inside this thing and they have to relieve it somehow? I don't, you know, this almost looks like some kind of hydraulic system here. Well, that would explain why, you know, on the inside, 35 are near these things here. All right, but what would that be for? What would they be trying to adjust? You know, this thing is welded solid, I would say, as one unit. They can't be expanding it in any way. And then here comes the most complicated part. What kind of plumbing and piping have they got on the inside of this to handle 75 valves? Okay, what possibly could they be trying to be controlling with all those hand valves? Now you can see in some of the molded stuff, there's all kinds of piping, it looks like, goes along up through here and down to different things, but it's beyond me. I can't figure out why you need, what is it, 110 on one bridge. 75 and 35. You know, there's a catwalk runs along here. Could it be shower valves? Are these guys taking hot and cold water showers on these catwalks? You know, I don't know. I'm just messing with you. But what are those for? What could they possibly be for that you're trying to adjust? I can't imagine them guys having to run up and down this thing trying to, you know, play with these valves, trying to adjust something. It's beyond me. I can't figure it out. If anybody's got a good idea what it is or knows, let me know. Alright, so I got all this together. Alright, and I'm to the point now where I'm messing with these catwalks. Okay? And this is the outside one. And you can see I got my Photo-etch on one of them. I've got just one of them finished. But that catwalk will go right down in here like this. Okay? Something like that. And then there's, like I said, this other piece is the railing, which goes along on the outside of it. Now, this is why I can't quit smoking. Okay, this kind of stuff. Let me show you this. I'm looking at this Photo-etch, okay? And it comes on a sheet like this. This is the catwalk Photo-etch, all right? And they got them numbered, all right? Let me see if I can see it in the light. There's number 1, there's number 2, number 3, number 4, number 6, 7, 8, and then all these right here, 3 here and 3 here, are number 5. All right. So, and there was 2 of these. All right. I've already got one already started here. I already. Let me see here. Here it is. There it is. I cut the one all up. So I got the big long catwalk done, and then here's the smaller one. It goes on the inside. Now, I tell you, there's a reason why these manufacturers are over in China. It's because they know we can't get to them. Because I'd like to be locked in a dark room with one of these guys that comes up with this stuff. All right. So I'm looking at this stuff, and I'm looking at the directions. All right. Let me get the, here's the big one, the one I finished. And it shows there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's what I got, 6 number 5s. And then on this end is number 7, and on this end is number 8. Okay? So I'm being real careful, making sure I got my 5s together and got number 7 and number 8. So then I went to start laying it out, and I noticed, well, wait a minute. Why are they numbered differently if they're all exactly the same? This large catwalk, like I said, it's got 3 sets of numbers, but every one of them pieces is identical. There is no difference. They're all exactly the same length and width. But they got to number them so that, oh, I'm trying to be careful and keep number 7 up here and keep number 8 back here and put the 5 or 6 5s in the center. They're all the same, so it doesn't matter. You know, they could have just said here, number 5 all the way down. But no, you got to try and make it complicated, and it just, you know, I don't get it. But that's not the worst part. Here's the small catwalk, okay? They got number 2 on the Photo-etch, number 2 on either end, and then here's a 1, here's a 9, here's a 4, and here's a 6, okay? So now I'm trying to be careful that I got these in the right order. Well, I'm looking at my Photo-etch, okay? There's a number 3. There is no number 3. So, you know, so then I cut all these off, trying to keep them in order, and I got to looking at them, and number 1, number 2, number 4, number 6, and number 9, they're all the same size. They're all identical. There is no difference in them. So why are you giving me all these different numbers if they're all identical? Okay? And then, like I said, they got 2 number 2s. Well, there's only 1 number 2, but there's a number 3. So, oh, I tell you what, you know, you sit here and you do this and you smoke a cigarette. And I'm thinking, why is this so complicated? Just give them all 1 number and say, here's where they go. Because there is no difference. So I'm sitting here trying to make sure I keep them in the correct order, but it doesn't matter what order they go in. And the only other thing I noticed is when I put them all down on there, you have to be real careful that you don't butt them up next to each other. You've got to leave like a hairline seam between them, because if you start down on this end and you butt the next one up to it, butt the next one up to it, butt the next one up to it, time you get down here on the end, you're off by about 1.5 millimeters. So you have to leave ever so slight gap between them, okay? But they look nice. I mean, they fit in there. This thing is going to go, it's such a precision fit. It's unreal on some of this stuff. And I'm sitting here saying that everything it just fits together perfect. And then comes along, I get to this thing here on either end, and it's on all four of them. There's 4 of them on here. There's a crank down here, a little handle with a little thing on it. You can crank it, comes down this shaft into this box. Well, there's 2 pins on the inside of it and 2 holes there. If you line that up with them 2 holes, it doesn't fit. It bends the shaft. So I had to take it out of them 2 holes, sand this edge down a little bit and move it down this way so it would take that kink out of it. And it's a good thing, because if you put them 2 pins in them 2 holes, then it sits in there crooked. It doesn't sit flush, it sits at an angle. So it's a good thing it didn't fit in them 2 holes, because it wouldn't be sitting in there right. All right. And then here's another thing. I don't know if you can see this. I'll bring it up. All right. That's a little piece that I added. Okay, a little part that they gave me. And if you could see, there's like a tubing runs down here and comes up and goes into the side of it. And there's a little ledge there for that to sit on. Okay, and 2 holes in the back that you mount it to. Fits perfect. Then you turn it around, and that's on both ends. One there and one there. But you turn it around, look at the inside. There's that same little tubing. There's that little ledge, but they don't give you the little box to go on there. And it's on both ends. So what's that about? What, they start to skimp on the parts now all of a sudden? But this here is identical to this, but no little box that goes on there. So I don't know what that was about. Okay, so that's pretty much where I'm at. But here's that photo etch. Here's the small gangway. This is, like I said, this is the large one. And then this is the small one that goes on the inside. And here's all that photo etch that goes in there, in here. All this photo etch goes in here. And you can see they are all identical, all the same size. Why they're naming them 2 2s, 6, 4, and 9, I have no idea. The one thing I did notice, okay, on this photo etch sheet, one thing I did notice, excuse me, is that the ones that are on the larger catwalk are a shade bigger than the ones longer, I should say, a shade longer than the ones that go on this small catwalk. So that you do have to pay attention to. But all of these are identical and all of these are identical. It's just that these are a hair longer, so you got to be careful with that. So I did the large catwalk first, where I used all the 5s and the number 7 and number 8. But the 1, 6, what's that, 4, 9, 2, and 3, those are all the same, but they're just a hair smaller than these. So you got to pay attention to that. So I don't know why they got to mess with it. You know, it's more time consuming trying to figure out their crap than it needs to be. So I don't know. I don't get it. But these went together real fast. They really did. You know, like I said, once you got your parts all cleaned up and they're ready to go, boom, you just start slapping parts on, you know. On the outside, there's these two things, and then some more of this, all of them valves, all these things here. But it went together real fast, man. I thought, man, this is, you know, next to them railroad cars, this is going together like a piece of cake, you know. And then there's a couple pieces up here and there, and then some on the front. And I thought, wow, I'll have this done in no time, which is true. It took me, what, 5-6 weeks to get them rail cars done, and within a week, I about got this assembled. So it just, you know, but you waste time sitting here trying to figure this out. Now, this Photo-etch, once again, you know, I'm using my little ceramic tile, cutting them off of the little frets, or whatever you want to call it, with my knife. And again, I'm using this little sanding stone that my wife got me. And I tell you what, you cannot see where I cut them off at with the naked eye. You got to hold it to the light just right to see that little nub. But if you take your fingernail and rub it, you can catch it and feel it. And like again, I was sanding that, because if you don't get that little piece off of there just exactly right, they won't fit in this little channel that they go in. They fit right down in here. I mean, such a precision fit. It amazes me that this plastic and this Photo-etch goes together so well. But and then what I'm doing is, once again, I'm using my Formula 560. This stuff, I'll tell you what, this is the way to go with Photo-etch. You know, I put a little drop of it. You can see some dried up on there. I'll just put a little drop on there. You don't want a whole bunch, because this will dry out within a few minutes, so you don't have a big working time with it. And then I just take an old knife blade here, okay, just take one of my old blades, dip into that a little bit, get on there, and take and go to the corners, okay, a little bit on the middle of it, and then on the end, and then just take that Photo-etch, lay it down in there. All right, and I do about 3 of them at a time, and then once I get to the third one, then I come along with my Q-tip, dip it in a little bit of water, and go along and clean up any of this Formula 560 that is on the, you know, up on top of the plastic or where I don't want it. That's what's so nice about using this, is water cleanup. Try that with your super glue. Yeah, that stuff is great. I mean, these are glued in there. They've been in there probably about an hour. Nothing. I mean, they're in there good and solid. They're not coming out of there. So, but like I said, you know, you got some time to work with this stuff. It's not like super glue. You put a dab on there and you better be putting your part on soon. You got some working time. Water cleanup. I swear by that stuff. I did buy some of that other stuff some guy makes. Let me see if I got it. I got a bottle of it. Here it is. Gator's Grip. Okay, I bought some of that. 1 or 2 guys told me about this stuff. It's specially made for Photo-etch. Here it is, a perfect blend for Photo-etch. All right, and this is the thin blend. I forget what model that was I was using this on. And it's got the same consistency and everything. It's white in color, same consistency as this, but he's got a special formula that he says he uses. The only thing I didn't like about it is when I went to clean it up with the water, it left a residue that I couldn't get off. It cleaned up most of it, but it left a little film there that wouldn't come off. I couldn't get it off. So I stick with this Formula 560. All right, So now, if you remember from one of my videos when I bought my spray booth, I was saying how this is too big to fit in that spray booth. Got a bug flying around in here. Huh, how dare him come into my basement. Let me see, let me reach over here. It's probably 4 inches wider than what my spray booth is. And you remember when I bought that spray booth, I was talking about how well I could leave down one of the sides and make me a little something, come up with something, you know, to shield it. And I got to thinking, well, you know what, this is going to be a treat trying to spray this thing in my spray booth. Number one, the whole thing's got to be painted. There's nowhere, any way or anyhow to hold this thing where I can paint it and paint it all. Now this area down in here, this is the bottom, right here, is open. It goes all the way through, okay? And I thought, well, maybe I could put a couple pieces of wire in there and suspend it and paint it. But I don't think that's going to work, for the sole reason I have to be manipulating this thing every which way you can, especially once I get that railing on there. I'm going to be having to turn this, you know, all which way you can think. So I thought, well, that's not going to work. So what I come up with is, number one, I'm going to take this clamp, all right, and this clamp will fit down here on the bottom. I don't know if I'll use this one or another one. I got another one that's a little bit more, a little stronger. But now I can hold that thing real good, all right? I can turn it upside down and everything. The only problem is you'll have a little area down here that you'll have to come back and touch up on both sides and on the bottom where this clamp's at. But I think this is what I'm going to go with, this clamp. Get it on there, and that'll hold it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out to the garage. I'm going to take my little compressor with me, take my airbrush and all my paint, go out to my workbench in the garage and paint this thing out in the garage. That way I don't have to worry about trying to get it in my spray booth, and I don't have to worry about the overspray or fumes or anything, because the 2-door garage door will be open. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I'll just paint this out in the garage. It's summertime. It ought to dry with no problems. I mean, you know, as long as I keep the dust down, don't make a bunch of dust, I'll be all right. So that's how I'm going to handle that. All right. I got one more thing I want to talk about, but before I do that, I'm going to take some measurements. Because I got a guy that asked me a question, and I thought, it's a really good question. I never thought about it, but I'm going to get some measurements and see if I can answer his question. So I'm going to put this on pause while I get some measurements, get on my computer to the scale calculator, and see what it is, see how it comes out. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So here's the question I was asked. If you remember in the last video, I was showing you how I think this ran down the railroad tracks on them railroad cars like that, okay, with the railroad cars on either end, ran down the railroad tracks. And the question was asked by Mr. Hamilton in Australia, from down under, what about the height? What if they came to a tunnel? Would this be able to go through a tunnel? And really I can't answer. I don't know how big their tunnels were over there, okay? But I'm sure they had to plan that out too. So what I done was I took a measurement here, and I come up with about 85 millimeters, okay? And I ran it through my scale calculator, and I don't know what that Well, I went by the imperial standard. That came out, 85 millimeters came out to be about 20 feet, 20.8 feet, okay? Now, given the fact that it was probably off the ground, maybe a foot, so that's 21 feet. So that had been 21 feet tall running down them railroad tracks. Were the tunnels that tall? I don't know. I don't know what their standard was over there in Europe at the time for tunnels. It does seem possible. I don't see why not. But if they did run into a problem where they had to tunnel, they probably found a way to go a different way. I don't know. So that's what that came out to be. Probably close to 21 feet above the tracks. I think that's doable. But that was a pretty good question, and and I had to stop and think. Oh man. So so there you go, Mr. Hamilton. About 21 feet. I don't know if anybody watches me from Germany. Maybe you could tell me what, is there a standard for bridges? Were they so tall? I'm sure they kind of built them a lot higher than what the railroad cars were, especially if you had a steam engine. You had to have room for the steam to come out and not be directly hitting the top of the tunnel. There had to be a little room there for that, the smoke in that. All right, so I think that's probably going to be it. I got to get this photo etch on, but it's already, maybe I can get that on the end of this video. I think I can do that. It's Thursday already, and the only problem is I got to do one side at a time, because you have to get this photo etch catwalk here. I have to do this one side at a time because I got to let this set up real good. And I brought me out my little ruler here, all right, so that I can lay that on one of these pieces and make sure I got it nice and square to the main bridge. So I'll have to do one side, kind of let it set up for a couple hours, come along and then put the railing on and then let that set overnight, and then come back and do the other side. I can do two at a time. I can do this one and this one, let them set up overnight, and then come back and do the other side. All right. As you can see, it's on there pretty good. It fits right in them holes real good, sitting there by itself. But it's going to take, overnight to dry, because I got to make sure it's square and plumb. All right. Okay. So there's no big deal with that, We'll see. We'll see how much time I got on this video. All right. Thanks for watching.